Driverly.com, unlimited drama series.
The laptop screen flickered back to life under my hands, displaying another person's carefully hidden secrets. Funny how people think deleting files makes them disappear. In my line of work, fixing computers and recovering data, I've learned that nothing ever really vanishes. It just gets buried deeper, waiting for someone who knows where to look. My name is Hale Trenwick, and I run a small IT repair shop in the heart of our mid-sized city. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business or thinks they do. The irony wasn't lost on me that I spent my days uncovering other people's digital lies while living with the biggest deception of all. The bell above my shop door chimed at exactly 6:15 on a Tuesday evening. I looked up from the motherboard I was examining to see Lara Vartan walking in, her usually bright expression replaced by something harder, more determined. Lara had been my wife Rory's best friend since college, the kind of friendship that survived career changes, relationship drama, and countless late-night conversations over wine. "Hale," she said, her voice steady but strained. "We need to talk." I set down my screwdriver and gestured to the chair across from my workbench. "About what?" Lara pulled out her phone and placed it on the counter between us. The screen showed a detailed spreadsheet with dates, times, and locations. "About what Rory's been doing for the past 8 months. She didn't dramatize it. She showed me the timeline, the locations, and the shared calendar Rory kept private. Months of double lives, all neatly indexed. Business lunches that lasted 4 hours. Weekend conferences that didn't exist. Gym sessions at a facility she'd never joined. Every lie cataloged with the precision of an accountant. "How long have you known?" I asked, scrolling through the damning evidence. 3 weeks, Lara said. I kept hoping I was wrong, that there was some explanation. But then I saw them together at Morrison's last Friday night. She told you she was at a client dinner, right? I nodded. Morrison's was an upscale restaurant across town, the kind of place Rory loved to be seen at, the kind of place she'd never go alone. His name is Evan Rusk, investment banker, divorced last year, thinks he's God's gift to women with portfolios. Lara's voice carried a bitter edge. She's been seeing him since January. 8 months. 8 months of careful lies, manufactured emergencies, and perfectly crafted alibis. I thanked her and didn't ask a single follow-up. The evidence was comprehensive, undeniable, and meticulously documented. Lara had done the detective work I never thought to do. After she left, I sat alone in my workshop, surrounded by the electronic guts of other people's broken devices. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the cluttered workbenches. Outside, the city was settling into its evening routine. Restaurants filling up, bars opening their doors, couples heading home to the lives they'd built together. My first move was preparation. I drafted the divorce papers using a template I found online, carefully documenting our assets and debts. The house we'd bought 3 years ago, the joint checking account, the small investment portfolio Rory managed. Everything needed to be separated with surgical precision. Next, I turned to what I did best, digital archaeology. Rory was obsessed with social media, constantly posting about her life, her work, her carefully curated image. She'd forgotten that the internet never forgets, that every check-in and tagged location creates a permanent record. I assembled a short, verified compilation of public footage Rory forgot existed, venue check-ins, sponsor tags, and her own captions, stitched to dates she'd claimed to be elsewhere. No commentary needed, just sequence. The timestamps told their own story, creating a pattern that even the most trusting spouse couldn't ignore. The irony was perfect. Rory worked in public relations, crafting images, and managing reputations for a living. She understood better than anyone how quickly a narrative could shift, how a single piece of evidence could unravel months of careful positioning. She just never expected to become the subject of her own expertise. Rory came home that night carrying takeout from our favorite Thai place, her usual peace offering when she sensed tension. She moved through our converted loft apartment with practiced ease, setting the containers on our kitchen island and pulling out plates from the cabinet. "Long day?" she asked, not quite meeting my eyes. The usual, I replied, watching her movements with new awareness. Every gesture seemed calculated now, every smile a performance. How was the Henderson account meeting? Exhausting. 3 hours of them changing their minds about the campaign direction. She launched into a detailed story about demanding clients and impossible deadlines, the kind of work drama she'd shared hundreds of times before. Except, according to Lara's timeline, the Henderson meeting had ended at 2 p.m. Rory's location data showed her phone at Morrison's restaurant from 3 to 6. I didn't respond with my usual sympathy or questions about her day. Instead, I ate in relative silence, offering only brief acknowledgments when she tried to draw me into conversation. The distance wasn't dramatic, just a subtle shift that left her looking confused and slightly off balance. "Everything okay?" she asked finally, her PR instincts picking up on the change in atmosphere. "Just tired," I said, clearing my plate. "Think I'll work on some invoicing tonight." I retreated to my home office, a small room lined with computer equipment and technical manuals. While Rory watched television in the living room, I continued my methodical documentation. Bank statements, credit card records, phone bills, everything that would be needed for a clean, efficient divorce. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Rory tried to counter when she sensed the distance, offering explanations for her mood, suggesting date nights and weekend trips. She minimized, reframed, promised we'd talk more when her current project was finished. Classic deflection tactics that might have worked on someone who didn't know what to look for. I didn't respond to her overtures. Instead, I scheduled the release of my compiled evidence to the city's neighborhood social media boards and local business networks, platforms Rory relied on for professional reputation and social standing. The posts were time-locked, source-linked, and uneditable once published. My workshop became a refuge during this period. Frankie Martinez, my part-time assistant, noticed the change in my mood, but had the good sense not to pry. He was a college kid studying computer science, eager to learn and grateful for the flexible hours that worked around his class schedule. "You seem different lately," he said one afternoon while we worked on a particularly stubborn laptop. "Everything good at home?" "Just working through some things," I replied, not looking up from the circuit board I was examining. Frankie nodded and returned to his work. He understood the value of focused silence, of letting problems work themselves out without unnecessary commentary. The city's social scene operated on a complex network of interconnected relationships, professional associations, and carefully maintained appearances. Rory had spent years building her position within this ecosystem, cultivating relationships with influencers, business leaders, and social coordinators. Her reputation was her most valuable asset, the foundation of her career and social standing, which made it the perfect target. I visited Mitch's bar on Thursday evening, a casual stop that wouldn't seem unusual to anyone watching. Mitch Brennan had owned the Copper Kettle for 15 years, serving drinks and collecting gossip with equal enthusiasm. He knew everyone's business and wasn't shy about sharing it with the right audience. "Haven't seen Rory lately," he mentioned while pouring my beer. "She's still working those crazy hours?" "You know how it is in PR," I said casually. "Always networking, always meeting new clients. Yeah, I see her here sometimes with that banker fellow, Evan something. They seem pretty focused on business." I nodded thoughtfully as if processing new information. "Evan Rusk, right? I think she mentioned him. Investment guy? That's the one. Comes in here like he owns the place, always talking about his latest deals." Mitch's tone suggested he wasn't particularly impressed with Evan's attitude. The conversation planted seeds without seeming deliberate. Mitch would remember our talk. Would start paying closer attention to Rory and Evan's interactions. In a town like ours, that kind of scrutiny was the first step toward public exposure. Friday night brought the monthly Chamber of Commerce Gala, a networking event that drew the city's business elite to the downtown convention center. Rory had been planning to attend for weeks, describing it as crucial for landing new clients and maintaining her professional relationships. She spent an hour getting ready, selecting a black cocktail dress that projected confidence and sophistication. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled in loose waves that looked effortless, but had taken 30 minutes to achieve. "You sure you don't want to come?" she asked, adjusting her earrings in the bedroom mirror. "It could be good for your business, too." "Not really my scene," I replied from the doorway. "Besides, someone should stay home and catch up on paperwork." She kissed me goodbye, her lips barely brushing my cheek. "Don't wait up. These things usually run late." After she left, I made my own preparations. The convention center's audio-visual system was managed by a local tech company I'd done work for in the past. A quick phone call to their evening technician, combined with a small favor I was owed, gave me remote access to the lobby's display screens. The compilation I'd prepared was exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds long. No narration, no dramatic music, just a chronological sequence of Rory's own social media posts, cross-referenced with timestamps and locations, her smiling face at restaurants she'd claimed never to have visited, tagged photos at events she'd said were canceled, check-ins that contradicted her alibis. I scheduled the video to begin playing at 8:30 p.m., just as the cocktail hour was reaching its peak. The lobby screens normally displayed sponsor advertisements and event information, cycling through a rotation of corporate messages. My addition would appear seamlessly in the sequence, looking official and intentional. At 8:25, I drove to the convention center and parked across the street, positioning myself where I could observe the main entrance. Rory's silver BMW was in the VIP parking area, along with several other vehicles I recognized from around town. The lobby was crowded with well-dressed professionals, wine glasses in hand, business cards being exchanged with practiced efficiency. Through the large windows, I could see Rory near the registration table, deep in conversation with two women I recognized as potential clients. Then the screens changed. The first image was innocent enough. Rory at Morrison's restaurant, smiling at the camera, her caption reading, "Amazing dinner with the team." The timestamp showed last Tuesday at 6:15 p.m., the same evening she'd told me she was working late at the office. The second image showed her at the Riverside Hotel's rooftop bar, arms around a man I now knew was Evan Rusk, her caption reading, "Celebrating another successful quarter." The date was 3 weeks ago when she'd claimed to be attending a women's business conference in the next state. The progression continued, each image more damning than the last. Vacation photos from a weekend trip I'd never heard about, romantic dinner settings with someone who wasn't her husband, intimate moments captured and shared with the casual narcissism of someone who never expected to be held accountable. The reaction was immediate and visible. Conversations stopped mid-sentence as people turned to look at the screens. Phones came out, recording the display before it could disappear. I watched Rory's face transform from confusion to recognition to absolute horror as she realized what was happening. The lobby erupted in whispers and pointed glances. Some people looked sympathetic. Others seemed entertained by the unexpected drama. Evan Rusk appeared at Rory's side, his face pale as he recognized himself in several of the images. They fled together, pushing through the crowd toward the parking garage exit. I followed at a distance, curious to see how they'd handle the immediate aftermath of their exposure. The parking garage was dimly lit and mostly empty, the concrete structure echoing with the sound of their hurried footsteps. I waited until they reached Evan's black Mercedes before making my presence known. "Leaving so early?" I called out, stepping from behind a concrete pillar. "The party's just getting started." Evan spun around, his expensive suit wrinkled from their hasty exit. "Look, Hale, this isn't what it looks like." "Really?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the same compilation that had just played for half the city's business community. "Because it looks pretty clear to me." Rory stood frozen beside the car, her carefully constructed composure finally cracking. "Hale, please, we can talk about this at home. This isn't the place." "No, this is exactly the place," I said, stepping closer to Evan. "See, you thought you were playing games in my city, with my wife behind my back. But the thing about games is that everyone gets to play." I reached out and slapped Evan's phone from his hand, the device clattering across the concrete floor. Before he could react, I stepped on it, grinding the screen under my heel. Oops, I said, grabbing him by his suit jacket and pulling him close enough to whisper. You want to play games in my city? I hope you like walking home. Evan's car had been decorated while we talked. Apparently, someone else had recognized him from the video and decided to contribute their own commentary. Homewrecker was spray-painted across the windshield in bright red letters, and all 4 tires had been slashed. I hadn't done it myself, but I wasn't about to correct anyone's assumptions. Looks like you've got some fans, I told him, releasing his jacket with a slight push that sent him stumbling backward. Better call a cab. Or maybe Rory can give you a ride. Evan looked between his destroyed car and my calm expression.
2 key cards. You asked for 2. Who was the second for?
My colleague needed a place.
Your colleague who calls you baby in her texts?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Apparently deciding that retreat was his best option. He walked quickly toward the garage exit, not looking back. Rory remained by the car, tears running down her cheeks and ruining her carefully applied makeup. This is insane, Hale. You've humiliated both of us in front of everyone we know. I haven't humiliated anyone, I replied. I just made sure everyone could see what was already happening. The weekend brought a cascade of consequences that rippled through our social circle like a stone thrown into still water. My phone buzzed constantly with calls and messages I didn't answer, while Rory's went silent. A sure sign that her carefully cultivated network was reassessing their associations. Sunday morning, I found her in our kitchen, still wearing yesterday's clothes, staring at her laptop screen with the hollow expression of someone watching their world collapse in real time. Social media had done what social media does best, turned a personal scandal into public entertainment. They're calling me a fraud, she said without looking up. Someone found my LinkedIn profile and cross-referenced it with the photos. They're saying I've been lying about client meetings, padding my hours, using company resources for personal affairs. Have you? I asked, pouring myself coffee. She closed the laptop with more force than necessary. That's not the point. The point is that you've destroyed my career, my reputation, everything I've worked for. I posted your own photos with your own captions. If that destroyed your career, maybe the problem wasn't the posting. Rory's phone finally rang, and she answered it with desperate hope. The conversation was brief and one-sided, ending with her staring at the device as if it had personally betrayed her. That was my boss, she said quietly. I'm suspended pending an internal review. Apparently, several clients saw the video and are questioning whether I've been honest about my availability and focus. I nodded sympathetically while mentally noting that my preparations needed to accelerate. Rory's suspension meant she'd be home more often, making it harder to complete the financial and legal arrangements necessary for a clean divorce. Monday brought an unexpected visitor to my workshop. Lara arrived during lunch hour, looking tired but determined. I need to tell you something else, she said, settling into the chair across from my workbench. About Evan. What about him? He wasn't just seeing Rory. There's another woman, Becca Chen, one of Rory's other friends from the PR circle. Apparently, he's been playing them against each other for months. The revelation added an interesting wrinkle to an already complex situation. Becca was part of Rory's inner circle, someone she trusted with professional advice and personal secrets. Does Becca know about Rory? I asked. She found out Friday night, same as everyone else. She's not taking it well. Lara pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages. She's been sending these to mutual friends all weekend. The messages were brutal, detailing Evan's manipulation and lies with the fury of someone who'd been used and discarded. Becca had inside knowledge of both relationships, and she wasn't hesitating to share every humiliating detail. There's more, Lara continued. Becca's brother works in building security downtown. He has access to surveillance footage from Evan's apartment building. The implications were clear. If Becca wanted revenge against Evan, she had the resources to make his life very uncomfortable. And if that revenge happened to splash back on Rory, well, that was just collateral damage. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you deserve to know everything. And because Rory's planning something desperate. Lara explained that Rory had been making calls all weekend, trying to construct a counter-narrative that would salvage her reputation. The plan involved claiming that I'd been emotionally abusive, that I'd driven her to seek comfort elsewhere, that the video was part of a pattern of controlling behavior. She's been documenting everything since Friday night, Lara said, taking photos of herself crying, recording voice memos about feeling trapped and scared. She's building a case. The strategy was clever and dangerous. In the current social climate, accusations of emotional manipulation could be just as damaging as proof of infidelity. Rory was preparing to flip the script, to transform herself from unfaithful wife to abuse victim. She asked me to corroborate her story, Lara continued, to say that I'd noticed signs of controlling behavior, that I'd been worried about her for months. And I told her to go to hell. That evening, I worked late at the shop, using the time to finalize my own preparations. The divorce papers were complete, the financial accounts separated, and the evidence file backed up in multiple secure locations. Everything was ready for the final phase. Frankie stayed late to help with a rush job, a small business server that had crashed during a critical update. While we worked, he mentioned something that caught my attention. My girlfriend works at that fancy restaurant downtown, Morrison's, he said, carefully extracting a damaged hard drive. She said there was some drama there last week with a couple who got recognized from some viral video. What kind of drama? The guy tried to pay with a credit card that got declined. Had to call someone to cover the bill while his date waited in the car. Pretty embarrassing, especially since he'd been bragging about his portfolio all night. Evan's financial situation was apparently more precarious than his public image suggested. A declined credit card at an expensive restaurant indicated either poor money management or more serious financial problems. Did your girlfriend say anything else about them? Just that the woman seemed really nervous, kept checking her phone like she was expecting bad news. And the guy was sweating even though the restaurant was cool. The picture emerging was of two people under increasing pressure, making mistakes and taking risks that would have been unthinkable a week earlier. Desperation led to poor decisions, and poor decisions created opportunities. I finished the server repair and sent Frankie home with instructions to take Tuesday off. The next phase of my plan required privacy and careful timing. Tuesday night, I waited on the rooftop of our building, 6 stories above the city streets. The building's security guard, Tom Rodriguez, owed me a favor from when I'd fixed his daughter's laptop for free. In exchange, he'd agreed to let me know if anyone tried to access our apartment without permission. The call came at 11:15 p.m. "She's here," Tom said quietly. "Came in through the parking garage, didn't use the main entrance. She's got someone with her." "Evan." "Looks like it. They're heading up to your floor." I thanked Tom and prepared for the confrontation I'd been anticipating. Rory was making her final play, probably hoping to retrieve evidence or plan something that would support her new narrative. The fact that she'd brought Evan suggested they were working together, combining their resources for one last desperate gambit. The rooftop access door opened 20 minutes later, and Rory emerged alone, looking around nervously before spotting me near the edge, overlooking the street. "Where's Evan?" I asked. "Waiting in the car. This is between us." She approached carefully, her movements suggesting she was recording our conversation. Her phone was probably in her jacket pocket, positioned to capture audio while remaining hidden. "I know what you're doing," I said calmly. "The voice memos, the photos, the story you're planning to tell about emotional abuse and controlling behavior." Rory's expression flickered, surprise breaking through her carefully maintained composure. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do. It's actually pretty clever. Flip the narrative, make yourself the victim. Turn my evidence into proof of obsessive surveillance." Very professional. I pulled out my own phone and showed her the recording app that had been running since she'd entered the building. "The problem is that Tom's security cameras have been recording everything since you arrived, including the part where you and Evan discussed planting evidence in our apartment to support your story." The building's security system was more comprehensive than most residents realized, with cameras covering every entrance, hallway, and common area. Tom had been very thorough in documenting their conversation in the lobby. "You can't use that," Rory said, but her voice lacked conviction. "It's illegal to record someone without consent. Actually, in a building lobby with posted security notices, it's perfectly legal and very admissible in divorce proceedings." Rory's phone buzzed with an incoming call. She glanced at the screen and her face went pale. "That's probably Becca," I said. "She's been busy tonight, too." While we'd been talking on the rooftop, Becca had been implementing her own revenge against Evan. Her brother's access to building security had provided surveillance footage of Evan's apartment, including several encounters with women who weren't Rory. The footage was currently being uploaded to every social media platform Becca could access. She found out about the others, I continued. Turns out, you weren't the only one he was seeing. There were at least 3 other women, all of whom thought they were his only affair. Rory's phone continued buzzing as notifications poured in. Her social media accounts were being tagged in dozens of posts, each one adding another layer to the scandal that had started with my video. This is insane, she whispered, scrolling through the messages. This has gone way too far. Has it? You spent 8 months lying to me, stealing time and money and emotional energy for your secret relationship. You tried to gaslight me when I started asking questions, then attempted to frame me as abusive when the truth came out. How far is too far exactly? Evan appeared in the rooftop doorway, looking frantic and disheveled. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair messed, and he was breathing heavily from running up 6 flights of stairs. We need to go, he told Rory urgently. Now. They've posted everything online, photos, videos, financial records. My ex-wife's lawyer is already calling about the alimony modifications. What financial records? Rory asked. Bank statements, credit reports, loan applications. Turns out Becca's brother has friends in interesting places. Evan glanced at me nervously. They know about the gambling debts, the underwater investments, all of it. The full scope of Evan's deception was finally becoming clear. His wealthy investor persona was a carefully constructed facade hiding serious financial problems. The declined credit card at Morrison's was just the tip of the iceberg. He's broke, Rory, I said quietly. Has been for months. The expensive dinners, the fancy hotel rooms. He was paying for everything with credit cards and borrowed money hoping to land a rich wife before the bills came due. Rory stared at Evan with dawning comprehension. The weekend in Chicago, the jewelry, the talk about buying a house together, none of it was real? I was going to figure it out, Evan said defensively. The markets were going to turn around, and I had some deals in the pipeline. It would have worked out. You used me, Rory said, her voice hollow with realization. You used me to feel wealthy while you were going bankrupt. And you used me to feel important while you were cheating on your husband, I added. Seems like you were perfect for each other. Evan's phone started ringing, and he declined the call with shaking hands. That's my landlord. Apparently, someone sent him the security footage from tonight, along with documentation of my financial situation. He's starting eviction proceedings. The cascade of consequences was accelerating beyond anyone's control. What had started as a personal betrayal was becoming a public destruction, amplified by social media and carried forward by people who had their own reasons for wanting revenge. I'm leaving, Evan announced, backing toward the stairway door. This city is finished for me. There's nothing left here. He disappeared down the stairs, leaving Rory and me alone on the rooftop. The city spread out below us, lights twinkling in windows where other people were living their normal lives, unaware of the drama playing out 6 stories above their heads. What happens now? Rory asked quietly. I handed her an envelope containing the divorce papers and the key to a storage unit where I'd packed her belongings. You sign these and we both move on with our lives. And if I don't, then we go to court and everything becomes public record. Every text message, every financial transaction, every lie you've told over the past 8 months. Is that really what you want? Rory took the envelope with trembling hands. Her carefully constructed life was in ruins, her career destroyed, her reputation shattered, her lover revealed as a fraud. She had no leverage left, no cards to play, no way to negotiate a better outcome. I never meant for it to go this far, she said. Yes, you did. You meant for it to go exactly as far as you could take it without getting caught. The only thing you didn't plan for was actually facing consequences. She signed the papers, using the pen I offered, her signature shaky but legally binding. When she finished, I took the documents and handed her a business card for a taxi company. Your car is in my name, I explained. The cab will take you wherever you want to go. Rory walked to the stairway door, then turned back for one final attempt at reconciliation. We had good years together, Hale. Doesn't that count for something? It counted for everything, I replied. Right up until you decided it counted for nothing. She left without another word, and I stood alone on the rooftop, watching her emerge from the building 6 floors below and get into the waiting taxi. The vehicle disappeared into the night traffic, carrying away the woman who had shared my life for 5 years and my secrets for 8 months. My phone buzzed with a text from Lara. Saw the news online. You okay? I typed back. Better than okay. Finally have some clarity. The city looked different from up there, cleaner somehow, as if a layer of deception had been scrubbed away to reveal the honest structures beneath. Rory had always wanted everyone to see her, to admire her carefully curated image and professional success. Now, they could see her completely, without filters or strategic editing. Visibility is everything, I thought, pocketing my phone and heading toward the stairs. She always wanted everyone to see her. Now they do, and I'll never have to see her again. The rooftop door closed behind me with a soft click, sealing off the final chapter of a marriage that had ended not with violence or drama, but with the simple, devastating power of truth made public. In a city that thrived on reputation and appearance, sometimes the harshest punishment was simply letting people see who you really were.